those that maybe this is their first time, this is PALS, and it stands for Player Alignment Liaison. And if you're here, we consider you a PAL. What is a PAL? It is somebody who is either an athlete, a former athlete, a coach, a mentor, or somebody who loves an athlete, former or current. Okay. And why we created this community over the holidays, V knows, and it was one of his teammates. V lost one of his teammates tragically, too young. And then there was another player at a school that I've spoken at in the past who murdered somebody for earbuds. And it just broke my heart. And what I had known for many years as a sportscaster before I retired was how quickly the lights go out for athletes when there is no longer anybody screaming your name. And so we said, what if we created a space, a safe space, where we could come together and have a community? We could love each other. We could provide mental health resources. We could provide business and financial tips and motivational speakers. And so no one gets left behind. And what if we did this once a month? And what if there were no strings attached other than we love you and we value you and we want you to be a part of this? And so that's what we created. I think, Emma, I think if I'm not mistaken, we started this like back in February, I think, or maybe even before that, January. We've gone back a couple of months now.
Yeah, we started talks about it and leadership surrounding it around January. And then I think February, March is for sure when our first meeting was.
Yep. So we've been doing this just a couple of months now, and it's been wonderful. And then we get a lot of information on the replay as well. And tonight, it is like the honor of, I'm telling you, all honors. This guy, I have been the biggest fan of him. I think most people on here have. If you are into football at all, you have retweeted or seen one of this guy, Coach Hines tweets. I mean, he makes me want to run through a wall, and I'm already a motivated and happy person. And so he's been a coach for over 20 years, and I'm going to let him tell you about the power of why, and why to have a particular why. But I just want to say thank you, Coach Hines. It is an honor. You motivate me daily, and I know so many people on here are huge fans of yours as well.
After that introduction, I feel like I should just log off and say I had computer problems, so I don't let it, so I don't disappoint anyone. It is a blessing, Rachel, to be here, and I see Britt and several others. So it's just a blessing to be here. As far as setting the format, Rachel, I'm not sure if it's going to be you, and it kind of looks like Emma's in works with this as well. If people have questions, if they want to write them in the chat, and then if I don't see them and if I get distracted, just feel free to interrupt me and ask the questions. Mm-hmm. I want to start off by sharing what I'm an expert in. Mm-hmm. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I say that often. I mean it with the greatest sincerity. I am an expert in nothing, but passionate about everything. It's a little bit about myself. I have just celebrated my 27th wedding anniversary with my best friend, Jillian. I have 4 beautiful children, 3 daughters and 1 son. We have 2 grandsons, which is the reason that we moved from New Hampshire 6 years ago out here to sunny San Diego. I teach elementary school. I've taught for 26 years now, 1st through 4th grade. And as Rachel mentioned, I've coached high school football, just wrapped up our 23rd season and going on our 24th in just a few days here now. And one thing I want to talk about as far as my why, it kind of all ties in, is when I'm blessed to speak, whether it's through Zoom situations like this or in front of Fortune 500 companies or coaching clinics, I say often there is not a greater coach out there than me. And I believe that with all my heart. And I'm going to say that again. There's not a greater coach out there than me. Now, that doesn't mean I'm greater than anyone else. And I think some people hear that and they think, well, why are you so great? We've never heard of you. You haven't won more state championships than other coaches. You're a high school coach, not college or the NFL. It all goes back to, because it's a bold statement, and I want to say it one more time. There's not a greater coach out there than me. Now, that's not saying I'm greater than anyone else. What it means is I define greatness probably different than a lot of other people do. I think the world defines greatness as championship rings, as titles and plaques, and how many players you may get to college or to the NFL. That's not how I define success. Now, you do have to win. In the sports world, you have to win a certain number of games to keep your job, as it should be, for the most part. But how I define success, it all comes down to one word for me. And it's a word that is near and dear to my heart. It's what gives me life. It's what gives me fire. And that word is empowerment. For me, I truly feel called to empower others. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's what I think about after I say prayer with my wife at night. The last thing I think about is, how did I do today? Did I just satisfy my own needs and goals, or was I focused enough to empower others? And as far as coaching, when I say there's not a greater coach out there than myself, if you can empower one person, if you can help change one life, how can you measure that as far as greatness? Now, I think many of us, our goal is to empower as many people as we can, to bless as many people as we can. The reason I love that word empowerment, and the reason I feel there's not a greater coach out there than myself, is because I know who I am and whose I am. And those two things briefly to go over, I think there are way too many people in this world, and I'm talking fourth graders I teach all the way up to people who are grandparents and great grandparents, who don't know who they are.
Mm.
They've spent the majority of their lives trying to live up to someone else's standards, whether it was their parents, teachers, or coaches. They only allow themselves to find happiness in someone else's definition of success. So when I say I know who I am, I have a firm belief and understanding, and it hasn't always been this way, but of what brings me joy, of what lights me on fire and allows me to get up every morning, even on the tough mornings when I'm tired or hurt or sore, emotionally drained, physically or mentally or spiritually, and to get up and continue to go out and try to empower others. I know who I am, and this one for me is everything. I know whose I am.
Mm.
And I love Rachel's. I have to be honest, Rachel, when one of your first posts, when you had invited me on, which thank you again so much, you had mentioned something about kings, the king, and my wife read that, and she's my best friend, but she said king, like this clearly is not you. And and I had shared some of the messages that you've shared, and everything, in my opinion, the little I know of you, Rachel, is about empowering others, blessing them to see that we are all kings and queens. And if we were to all address others and treat others as royalty, as for me, it's the sons and daughters of the Most High. It's who I serve. And if we could all go through life and treat others as royalty, we wouldn't have 99% of the problems we have in this world today. So a little background story about me knowing my why and what brought my wife and I out here to San Diego, which we love. 6 years ago, it'll be 6 years ago, this August 1st, that we moved here to San Diego. Back up 13 years ago, I had taken a head coaching job in New Hampshire. It was a brand new high school. We didn't have seniors yet. And when I took the job, the administration said, it was a very affluent community. And they said, Coach, if you get the job, how long before you're in the playoffs? And I don't know why, but I didn't stutter. I said 3 to 5 years. And they didn't stutter either when they started laughing at me. They just laughed. And I said, if I get the opportunity, we will be in the playoffs within 3 to 5 years. Well, my first year as head coach at Bedford, New Hampshire, we set state records. I saw some of your eyes kind of light up. Not the records you want to set. We got our teeth kicked in more than any other school in the history of sports, probably worldwide. I laugh at it now, but at the end of every game, whether you win or lose, you walk through and you say 2 words to the team: good game, good game. We were so bad, no one even lied to us. They would look around and say, wow, what a beautiful stadium. What a great field. And I was like, man, we're that bad. They're not even going to lie to me. So to fast forward, not I, but we went from losing every game my first year as head coach to winning 2 games. To my third year, we won 5 games and we made it to the playoffs and got bounced out right away. But the last 4 years I was head coach in New Hampshire, we had 144 young men and young women on our football team. We had gone to the state championship 3 out of the last 4 years and had just built a brand new weight room. everything was positioned, just continue to build upon the powerhouse that I had the blessing of being there for during a really, really difficult times. And I think for any of us, whether it's being a parent or a student athlete, when you can be a part of a successful program, and if you've been there from the beginning or had gone through the struggle, it makes that journey so much greater. Just after we had finished my 7th year as head coach there, we had gone to the state championship. We lost, but we made it to the state championship. And our oldest daughter of our 4 children called and said she had gotten married and said she's pregnant. And my heart just leapt. I was like, yes, I'm going to be a grandfather, and a fairly young grandfather. And then my heart sank. I was like, oh my gosh, we're moving. But I knew my wife and I didn't want to stay and this is great for this. But as a grandparent, you want to hug your grandsons. You want to kiss them and love on them and be there. So we had prayed about it, and we just had a 1 to 3 year plan of saving money, networking, trying to find a job. And the way God opened some doors there, within a month, I had been flown out to California. I got a teaching job at a private Christian elementary school, and just we were out here within less than a year. We had sold everything and moved across country. My wife hadn't had a job yet. We hadn't sold our house yet. And the biggest argument we had during that whole transition of moving, my wife one time, with a lot of just anxiety and stress in that process of moving, said, Kurt, you don't understand. Like, we're not those people. We don't have enough to pay mortgage and rent in the same month. I'm like, I know we're not. I know that's not us. And she said, well, how are we going to do this? And I said, I have no idea. But as cliche as it sounds, I said, Jill, we can live in faith or fear. And we can live the rest of our lives in New Hampshire and see our grandsons once or twice a year, or just take this huge leap of faith and just trust that if we do our part, God's going to do his. And it wasn't until the 3rd day across country on our trip, we had signed over letter power of attorney to our realtor, because we had to go, and the house hadn't sold. So it was day 3 of our trip that she called and said we had sold the house, and just tears as we're driving. You know, we're in my truck. Our two of our younger daughters are in the car behind us, both full to the brim, and we moved out here. So I had left a powerhouse, and the hardest thing for me moving across country, obviously all the family and friends, but we knew I'm a firm believer that you get what you look for in life. If you look for negativity, you look for hate, and you look for just debt, you're going to find all of that. If you look for love and empowerment, encouragement, and friendship, you're going to find that as well. So we moved out here knowing nothing and knowing no one. And my wife hadn't had a job yet still. She ended up finding a job, and 6 years later, all 4 of our kids are out here. And we have 2 grandsons that live 2.5 miles down the road. And what this has to do, if I circle back to the power of why for me, my why is empowerment. My faith means everything to me. That's first. My family it's neck and neck. Those are so closely tied. And then it's football. And for me, it's football. I love everything about football: the game planning, the practice, the training, meeting with parents, meeting with struggling student athletes. But it's my why is empowering others. And I realized that I could do that in New Hampshire. I can do that in California. And if God, whether it's next week, next year, or 10 years from now, moves my family somewhere else, my why isn't based on a location. My why isn't attached to a job. It doesn't have to change. My why for empowering others, I can do it in the townhouse that we're blessed to live in a shack or a mansion or anything in between. So that's really what gets me going, what lights me up. When I talk to people about what I do as an elementary school teacher and a coach, my wife and I were blessed to just come off our greatest vacation ever to Kauai, Hawaii. We almost felt guilty. People said, you know, where do you vacation if you live in San Diego? Where do you go? But we were blessed to go to Kauai and just have an amazing time with amazing friends that are like family. And there were so many times that during that vacation, I thought, man, I'm the richest person I know. I really am. And it goes back once again, how I define richness and wealth. Because if you look at bank statements and you look at, you know, we don't live in debt, but we have before. Most of my friends make a lot more money than I do. And most of them probably always will. But my definition of success in the football world is just like my definition of wealth in the rest of the world. I have my health. I have been blessed with great family, great friends. So I consider myself one of the richest people I know. One of my biggest mistakes as a coach in the power of finding my why was in that I realized that when I had a secure understanding of my why, I didn't relay that to my coaching staff. I didn't relay that to our team. And it's not enough to just have a strong why, but you should share that why with your circle of influence, the people that are around you, to help hold you accountable, to say, hey, this is my why. My why is to empower and bless other people. And to say to those near and dear to you, if you see me acting in a way, or if you see me doing something in my life that looks completely contrary to my why, call me out on it. Like I need that accountability. We have on our football helmet at Coronado, we have a little stripe down the middle, like most teams. We have our logo on both sides, a little islander. And then when I got the job, we have a little circle, just a clear little circle, and it just has the word in all caps, why. And one of my missions as a coach is to get to know each player so well that I know their why. Because not every player wants to go on to college and play collegiate sports. So if I keep pushing that as my agenda, I'm not serving them the right way. Not every player wants to be a starter necessarily. You know, they think about it, you know, but some players just want to be a part of something greater than themselves. Some people just want to be a part of something, whether it's a family or a church or an organization greater than themselves. They want to be a part of a community that values them and sees the value in them. So I try to help other people find their why. And what I found, Rachel, and for everyone else, is there are more people in my life that I know and love that don't know their why, that can't define their why, can't verbalize what their why is. And I think that goes back to so many of us to find our success in how other people see us. We find validation in people approving of how we live our lives or giving us approval of how we live our lives. And that can be a dangerous and scary thing. So what I want to do is touch on just two more quick things and kind of open it up. I see to my left here some questions, but when I talk to people about what their why is, I want to encourage them, because a lot of people don't know it and they don't know where to start. Like, how do I find my why? And they think their why has to be attached to their job, has to be attached to what they do. And I think that's a dangerous thing, because as much as I love being called coach, to be honest with you, as much as I love being called hun by my wife, Papa by my grandsons. And it's not because of the wins or losses. It's because of the relationships, meeting with young men and young women and their families and helping them get through this thing we call life. So my suggestion for people that don't yet know their why is to just find people who look like they're on fire for life. Find people who are passionate about everyday life and spend time with them. And there's no magic equation to it, in my opinion. It's just find people who are on fire about life, find people who are passionate and spend time with them, find their why, and then see what sets you on fire. My wife, who is my best friend, and as I mentioned, been married for 27 years, has had some jobs she's really liked, has had some jobs that she's really hated and struggled through, and really talk about a season of growth and trial and triumph. She just now, about 6 months ago, got her dream job, wasn't looking for it necessarily, and she's working in a retirement community with people from the ages of 65 to 105, and she comes home every day just on fire, exhausted so many times and just drained, but she loves her job because she's serving others. And I think she's truly found now at I won't say her age, I'm 49, she's a year older, so I won't say her age, but she'll watch this sometimes. I didn't say her age, but now at 50 has found her joy. And I think so many people think, and I'm convinced that so many high schoolers think that they have to, in high school, know what they're going to do for the rest of their lives, because people ask, what are you going to do in college? And that's so much stress and fear. And then they think most adults, teachers, coaches, parents, have it figured out. And most of us don't have it, whatever it is, figured out. We're just going day by day. So I think, to wrap up my blabbering here, if we can find our why, find out what sets us on fire, then it doesn't matter what our title is, what our bank statement is, what house we live in, we rent, or whatever it is. Our why is going to give us the fuel to continue to go forth and bless others in a way that will literally change the world. So,
hey, and we'll open it up for questions. But I want to just add this to what you said about your why and finding it. I often say, attached to your greatest pain can be your greatest purpose.
Amen.
And whoo,
Yeah, right.
yeah. And so what I say to people is, coaches, I say, think about it, like the person next to me, which is Matt on the screen, or the person next to him, which is Kenneth or Sariana, right? Like we all watch a newscast, and something that bothers Matt is not the same thing that bothers Kenneth, right? Like it's not the same thing that bothers Coach Hines. It's not the same thing that bothers Sariana. So we're all, a lot of my players have said, well, I saw homeless twins underneath the bridge when I was growing up. Because of that, I want to start a homeless shelter. I have an autistic sister. Because of that, I would like to have noise canceling headsets in the stadiums. I had one player that said, look, I ate beans out of cans. We moved all the time. And he said, before I met you or somebody like Coach Hines, I didn't want to help nobody. He said, nobody helped me. So I wasn't going to help anybody. And then he said, you taught me that because no one helped me is exactly why I should help somebody else. So this message is so right on. And I want to open up for questions or thoughts. There's been some great things in the chat, but I just wanted to validate what you're saying, Coach, because I'm changing the narrative. One of the big reasons I started it was because there was a very high profile domestic violence case in football. And I thought I had put to bed a night that I was drug across the house by my hair. And when this coach and this person, which very good for this player, is rehabilitating himself, but the coach gave him a really light punishment. And I remember being in the exact gas station, and I felt like a hot poker was in my belly. And I was like, you know what? I'm so angry about this. And I wrote an article that said college football is breaking my heart. And then with my anger, because see, it's okay to feel angry. It's just you don't want to stay there, Yes. With my anger, Coach, I then turned it into, well, what if I go teach men how to love women, how to treat women, how not to let anybody do that ever to a woman. And then it's morphed out into 1,000 different directions since. So your message is so right on. It's so right on. But
if I can share also, Rachel, and I can't thank you enough. I think most people here tonight have heard of Inky Johnson.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he keeps coming to mind for me. I've never met the man, or not yet. But I had read something by Wayne Dyer a while ago, and he talked about ego. And I always thought ego was that cocky, arrogant coach, male, female, or player that just thought they were better than others. And Wayne Dyer had touched on something. And if anyone's listening and hadn't heard this, if you only take one thing away from this, and it's not mine, I have to give credit to Dr. Dyer, but please write this down. It was life-changing for me. He said, ego is anytime we edge God out. EGO. And for me, that was a paradigm shift, because I look at people, honestly, Rachel, I look at people like you or Inky Johnson or others, and I'm like, I'm not Inky. I don't have that life-altering story. I'm not Rachel. I didn't do this with my life before. Who am I? And I was edging God out. And finally, it was a paradigm shift of, hey, the world, in my opinion, is overpopulated with hatred, darkness, people that don't want to speak up, stand out for the right reasons. It's not saturated in any stretch of the imagination of people who want to spread love. And I don't think it ever will be saturated with people that want to spread kindness. So for me, it was, hey, if someone asked me to speak at their event or for their organization, my mind immediately went to, I don't have that story. I'm not that guy. And it was humbling to read what Dr. Dwyer wrote and say, you know what? I'm edging God out. I have an ego, and I don't like saying I have an ego. So I have to fight that hard to say, it's not about cockiness. It's about, if God has put something in front of me, to trust him, to know that it's there for a reason. In fourth grade, just like I tell my athletes, falling is awesome as long as we learn to fall forward and pick ourselves up. Falling is not a negative thing. I think most parents, with the best of intentions, bubble wrap their children because they don't want them to get hurt. And what they're doing is they're hurting their own children because they're not allowing their children to hurt, feel pain, and to find their strength through coming back up from that.
It's so good. Questions, comments, Trey? You always got a good word.
Hey, can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Hey, Trey.
What's up? Nah, Coach, you hit it. You hit it on the head, Rach. I appreciate it. I don't have a voice, so I'm trying to I'm here. I hear y'all. I'm with you. Let's go.
I appreciate you.
I've been grinding today on my kids' summer camp.
Good man.
So Trey, you talk about your why. This is such a great story for anybody that wasn't on our last month. Trey, I'm gonna try to do this without crying, but I never can. Trey wanted to go to the NFL. And Trey had really, really high aspirations to go in the NFL. I met Trey in 2017, and we just instantly clicked and stayed in contact. Trey did not go to the NFL. Instead, Trey got married, started a gym in the midst of the pandemic, and then when everything could fold on him, he and his wife decided to go online and do online training and nutrition and all of those things, and grew even bigger and better. But what Trey does now is Trey goes and picks up little disadvantaged boys and girls in bad neighborhoods and brings them to his gym, and he feeds them and he teaches them inspiration, and he buys them shoes when they're wearing shoes that are 5 sizes too big for them, too little for them. And he, yeah. And so while Trey didn't necessarily get what he thought he wanted, he got exactly what God had intended for him.
Amen. Amen. I was talking to one of the friends we went to Hawaii with, that we were there with 3 other couples we've known for 6 years since moving out here. And we were talking about how Michael, one of my friends, said, Kurt, you always say God answers all your prayers. And everyone kind of stopped looking like he answers all your prayers. I'm like, God answers all of our prayers. And like, well, I said, the answer is often no, but he's still answering our prayers. And I think just because we don't get the yes we want, we don't understand. One of my favorite cartoon pictures is a picture of a little child holding onto a bear with all dear life. Probably most of us have seen it. And she's saying, God, please, you don't understand. I love it so much. And behind God's back, or Christ's back, he has a huge teddy bear. He's like, trust me, and one hand's extended. I think so often I hold on to what I thought I wanted. I'm like, God, you don't understand. And I just have that image now of him saying, Kurt, trust me, you don't understand. Just like we tell our players, trust the process. I can't imagine how many times God looks down upon me and just smiles with a little twinkle in his eye and goes, Kurt, trust the process. Just trust it. It's a lot of,
yeah, go ahead, Kurt.
No.
Comments, questions, if you want to unmute yourself.
Comments and questions. Can I go, Rachel? Do you mind?
Yeah, please go.
Hey, Britt.
Great to see everybody. Kurt, great to see you, and so glad to be on. And obviously, seeing you, knowing you a little bit, and knowing that those words, empowerment, the call, joy, and all these things that you continually put out there is lived. And I'm so grateful for your integrity and who you are, man. Just outstanding. One thing that kept coming to my mind when you were talking, because you obviously hit the nail on the head on many things, as always, but this idea of approval seeking. So, man, I'm a career approval seeker. I mean, no doubt. And it's left me empty in many, many instances. And so my question would be this, and obviously I know where my approval comes from, right? From our Lord and Savior. But when you're talking to high schoolers who are right in the thick of that, or even young college students who are right in the thick of, man, finding who they are, and looking for approval, probably in the wrong places to some degree. How do you approach them? Would be my question. What would be some advice we could take away as we go out and mentor, as we go out and teach and coach and help young people see, where their approval can really come from?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Britt. For me, it all comes down to relationships. The whole reason I started teaching, I was a hellion in school. I was the one being sent literally to the principal's office, running out of the window, going to, running back to my house. It was a 7th grade math teacher for me that would sit down in the corner of his desk at the beginning of every class and just talk about life. And he would call on different students and just say, hey, tell me about football. Tell me about cheerleading. Tell me about drama. Tell me about whatever. And I remember sitting there as a 7th grader thinking, this guy cares about me. Not because I'm a mathematician. I was and never will be a mathematician, but he just cares about me. So I think part of my thought process as I think through this question, Britt, is relationships. Build relationships with your players. It's great to win games, but if I can pull a player aside before practice, during is a little bit tougher, but possible, or after practice, and just say, hey, can we come chat for a minute? And I've done that more and more over the years. And I sit down and I say to them, I have no agenda. How are you? And when they say great, I'll say, what's great in your life? And sometimes they can rattle off things that are great. Sometimes they just look at me blankly, like, what do you mean what's great? And then I've had a student, and I obviously won't say the name, just about 3 weeks ago, I said, how are you? Great. What's great? And they looked at me like, well, this sucks. And then they started rattling off things that are challenging in their lives. So then I said, hey, let's go after this was during a workout in the weight room. I said, after weights, can you stay around for 15 minutes? So we went up to my office and talked and got to some real deep stuff that he was dealing with. So I think it's just taking that time, being intentional about not even we don't need a script. We don't need something, written out, but just having that one-on-one conversation, looking at them. And I end every practice, and I've done this for years, by looking at my players and just saying, I love you. And I don't say it just to the whole group, but I say it individually. The cool thing was when I was a head coach in New Hampshire and here in Coronado, and I never asked our young men or young women to do this, but after every practice, weight room or practice or game, they come through and shake every hand. And it is the most endearing thing for me. I love it. And I had one of my new players this year, a freshman quarterback that started for a varsity. After one of the practices, I was like, hey, love you, Hudson. And his father, who is our senior pastor. Now, I taught Hudson in 4th grade. He's now a freshman in our football program. He stopped the truck and said, Coach, I have never heard another coach say that to one of my children. And I said, Robert, you know as well as I do. I said, but some of these young men and women never hear that from their parents, and I said, it's not enough for me to say it to them once. I say it every time I see them. And for some of them, it's really awkward. They don't know how to respond. And for some of them now, before I can even say it, they'll say, love you, Coach. I'm like, man, it's powerful. And going back to a lot of your stuff, Rachel, and I need to watch more and listen more and learn more from it. But it is, I think I love everything about the game of football, and not everyone here is a football coach or athlete of football or whatever. But the one thing I hate about it is that dumb Neanderthal jock, hey, we're tough, you don't cry, whatever. And it was such a blessing that my father, I saw him cry growing up. Not often, but I saw him cry. My kids see me cry probably too much. I wear my heart on my sleeve all the time. Matter of fact, my daughter, who's getting married this August 7th, our second oldest, she and her fiance called me this morning. She said, Dad, will you marry us? And I knew that was coming up. We had some of the conversations. I said, oh my gosh, absolutely, absolutely, I will. And then my son-in-law calls me Coach. And my daughter, Abby, she said, will you be able to do it without crying? I said, 100% not. I will be a blabbering mess, but I'll pull it together a little bit. But I think it's important, Britt, to just finish up with answering your question is have relational conversations with players, not just how are you? And that all came to me when I used to ask players, how are you doing in school? And they'd say, great, we're good. And then grades would come out and I'd be like, whoa, you're failing 3 classes. We have different definitions of great or good. So when I ask players now how they're doing in school and they say, whatever they say, I say, what are your grades? I dig a little bit deeper. So when I ask players now how they're doing, I don't just take great as an answer. I try to dig a little bit deeper because our definitions may be different.
Look, I think this can apply to all of us in our work, in our ministry, in your passion project, and whatever it is. When somebody knows that you genuinely care and you don't want a thing from them, it causes walls to fall down. And for those that have encountered me in person, like Monica or Trey, and some of the others here, they know, like I'll say, I don't want a thing from you. I don't want tickets. I don't want memorabilia or swag or anything. All I want for you is to live at your highest and best self. That's
Amen.
all I want. I want you to be healed and seek healing. I want you to be constantly under construction. And I say, Coach Hines, I don't have it like you. I don't have it figured out any more than you do. I'm just constantly under construction proudly. I'm always learning, growing, seeking, reading, all of it. And so anything that comes in me then goes out in one of my talks or goes out in what I teach. And so I think, when people know you care and you don't want anything from them, it will cause amazing walls to fall down in your relationships, in your work, in your friendships. And the other thing is, I think, right along with what Coach Hines is talking about is if somebody's brisk to you or short or ugly to you, your flesh is the first thing to say, oh, well, I'm going to be right back. If you can, somebody at the drive-through or whatever, somebody's short with me, I'll make it a point, even more so to say, you have beautiful eyes, or I hope you have a great day, or how are you doing, Sarah, or whatever. And you can almost see somebody open up like a flower, like their defenses drop. And so somebody said it earlier in the chat, lead with love.
Yeah.
Lead with love. You lead with love, man. And really not wanting something from somebody, it changes everything.
Amen. And I think it's powerful for us as teachers, as coaches, as parents, as spouses, to understand that most people aren't giving us a hard time. They're having a hard time. That child that's acting out in class, we might think, hey, why are they giving me a hard time? We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. That athlete that seems to always mumble and talk back and doesn't like to be coached, in my experiences, and that's all it is my experiences, 99% of the time, when you dig deeper, you find out that they're dealing with a lot more baggage, and they're not giving me a hard time. They're just having a hard time. And as you said, Rachel, when you love them unconditionally with wanting nothing in return, just selfless servitude, those walls crumble down. And they use that wreckage to move up higher in their lives.
So Coach Hines, would you be so wonderful if there's any contact information that you'd be willing to share with the community? I don't know if it's an email or a website or whatever you prefer. If you would mind dropping that in the chat,
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. And we are going to actually turn it over. And Coach Hines, if you'll spend the last 15 minutes with us, we would love it, because I would love for you to hear Jeremy. He is another king.
Absolutely.
And also, I want to give everybody an update. Normally, we have 2 of our mental health specialists on this call. Dr. Josh, at the last moment, had something to do with his family. As Coach Hines says, family first, faith and family. And if you will keep Lindsay Friesman, who is on with us, that taught us the 626 breathing. If you weren't with us, I'm going to give you a refresher on it. When you're stressed out, when you're sad, when you're anxious, when you're mad, it's 6 counts in. Hold for 2, 6 counts out. And if you'll do that 5 to 10 times, it will change everything. I mean, literally. So it's called the 626 breathing method. But Lindsay was actually, she's okay. Lindsay was actually in an accident last night with her mother. And so she is banged up, been at the ER. She asked to give everybody her love. She'll be back with us next month. And then one last little small prayer request. I had a girlfriend, many of you saw on social media. She was 36 years old. She was in the car with her 4 children, her 4 boys, and she was hit and killed head on Monday night, 5th of July. And all 4 of her boys, age 3 to 14, are still in the hospital with everything from a shattered growth plate to lacerated spleen to all broken ribs to body cast. And they don't have their mom. So if you would just please keep Audra's boys in your prayers, it would, and she was also pregnant too. So it's just a tragedy all around. So if you would just continue to pray for Audra's family and Audra's boys, if you pray, I would greatly appreciate it. So on a lighter note, I would love to hand it over to Jeremy Newsom from Real Life Trading to finish our call out. We are always very conscientious of your time. We're respectful of your time, and we do an hour here because gosh knows we've all been on those Zoom calls that have gone 3 hours. You're like, can this be over with? Like, so if you want to give any more love to Coach Hines, he's got his information. I think he put there too. Hopefully were you able to put that in there, Coach Hines?
I was. And if there's anyone on here that follows me that I don't follow back, just send me a DM. I'd love to stay connected. And I'm going to mute myself here, but Rachel, and everyone else, thank you so much. You guys are such a blessing. So I am going to stay on, but I'm just going to mute myself. So you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. We'll give him a little.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah. Thank you.
My heart is light. My heart feels good. I want to go out and change the world. Okay. So Jeremy Newsom, bring us home because like we talked about, wealthy. And one of the things I love that Coach Hines talked about is wealth. Jeremy is wealthy because he has a giving spirit. One of our dear friends, Brittany Turner, says, I want to make more money and I'm not ashamed of it because the more money I make, the more people I help, the more people I get out of trafficking, the more ecosystems and communities and different people I can help, more people I can lift up. So Jeremy's the same way. He wants to make more money so that he can empower more people and help more people. The opposite of that is what they call a reservoir. That would be Jeremy learns and keeps it to himself. Jeremy makes money and keeps it to himself. Jeremy is what we like to call as a pastor. And he says, are you a river or are you a reservoir? Jeremy is a river. So good things keep coming to him, and he passes along his knowledge to us, and does this every month just because he is a river and therefore a king. So take it away, Jeremy.
Love you, Rachel.
Love
You're so inspiring, so beautiful, and so light, so loved. Thank you. Coach, thank you, brother, for being here. There's so many phenomenal faces, and it's always kind and heartwarming to be a part of PALS. It started for me when I watched this show on ESPN, 30 for 30, where it discussed that 85% of professional athletes in most professional sports, NFL, NBA, and MLB, they go broke. They go broke just years after retirement, 4 to 5 years after retirement, they're now broke. And that struck a chord with me so heavy, because at the time I was in a state where I felt like it was relatively easy to create money because I just had a mindset and a belief, but I also had the knowledge to do so. And so that created and caused a drive for me to write a book called Money Grows on Trees, because it does. I actually saw a lady the other day. I was on a hiking trail and she was carrying a bunch of pine cones, like 2 pine cones, back home with her. I was like, what are you gonna do with those pine cones? And she's like, I'm gonna put them on my wreath because they're so beautiful. But people sell pine cones on eBay, right, for decorations. I mean, so I was talking about money doesn't grow on trees. Like she picked something off of a tree, right? People buy those things all the time for decoration. It's amazing what the mindsets can do. Coach Hines mentioned a paradigm shift. He said a paradigm shift when he heard Inky Johnson say ego, right, means to edge God out. That is a paradigm shift, is a mental belief that is so ridiculously awe-inspiring and life-changing that your whole world now is shifted. My why personally is to enrich lives with mentally liberating education. And I feel like so many human beings simply need to learn how money works, and specifically how investing moves, and how the stock market is not scary and it's not gambling. So what I want to do is cover 2 of those pieces. Then I'm going to give some tools and just give some insight into something that people might not have even heard of before. So how is the stock market not gambling? Because this is one of the things I get the most, one of my most asked questions. I'm in Lake Tahoe right now for a 5-day long trading retreat. So very similar to what a lot of you guys have probably done, when you have groups of human beings, your friends, your tribe, they come together and they all hang out and they all learn from each other. So we're in Lake Tahoe. Some of you might know that Lake Tahoe has casinos. So it's really beautiful to be in a place where they have both casinos and stock market education, because we're able to walk around casino floors and we're able to say, hey, listen, that's really cool that you're gambling. Would you like to learn how to make money without gambling? Like, sure. What is that? And I talk about the stock market. And they're like, dog, stock market is the most rigged game on earth. What you talking about? Not gambling, son. I go, listen, if you invest $1 million into Apple, tomorrow you will have either a little bit more money or a little bit less money, but you won't have no money. You see, in the stock market, my friends, we have the ability to reduce or mitigate or create risk control so that we do not lose all of it. That's why many Christians actually do not gamble, but actually do invest into either mutual funds or the stock market, because it really is 2 different things. You're investing into a business. You're putting money and you're putting it into people. When you buy stocks, you are buying shares of companies that actually go out and do things. For example, there's a Force for Good company that I like a lot. It's one of my biggest holdings. This company is called Upwork, ticker symbol UPWK. And Upwork is a company that we could all use today, tomorrow, next week, to hire people to help us with things that we might not be able to do well, or that we have exceeded our time expectation for that item and that someone else can do it better for less value. less money. It doesn't cost as much money as it would cost us for them to do it. So we're able to not only hire someone that might need the money so that they can do an Excel spreadsheet, which I'm not good at Excel spreadsheets, by the way. And if I can hire someone who is really good at that and they can get paid for their specialty, I get help, they get help, Upwork makes money, all three people win. Boom, what a great company. So I can invest in companies like that slowly over time. I can buy some shares, I can buy positions, I can increase it. And that allows me to make money while I sleep. All right, that allows me to invest into companies, into enterprises. So what's phenomenal about the stock market is, again, you have the ability to control your risk. You have the ability to control how much you put in or how much you lose if you're not wrong. There is something in the stock market called stop losses. Stop losses, you can select a certain price, and if the stock goes below that price, you want to get out. There's also something in the stock market, you can buy insurance on your stocks. A lot of people don't know that. Just like you can buy car insurance, house insurance, health insurance, you can buy insurance on your stock to protect it in case it goes down. And not only that, my friends, but you can also rent out your stocks, just like you rent out a house.
What?
A lot of people don't know that either. And just like in real estate, when you live in two houses, right? You live in one, you rent out the other one brings in cash flow. You can do the exact same thing with your stocks. And that has nothing to do with your money. That has nothing to do with wealth. That has nothing to do with your education, right? I barely graduated college. I got a business management degree. I wanted to go through finance because I thought that they would teach you about the stock market. Unfortunately, they don't. Stock market's not something they teach you very frequently. But it is a tool that so many people can use to better their lives. We are taught that the stock market's for very, very rich white people. Now, it doesn't matter your skin color, how rich you are. Like Rachel said, you can use $5, $500,000. The more money you have, yes, it's easier to make more money because money loves to create money. That's what it does. The richer you are, the easier, monetarily rich you are, the easier it is to make more money. Absolutely true. But it doesn't matter where it is. Les Brown, who I had the privilege of actually having a one-on-one coaching session with today, he's been a lifelong hero for my entire life. I grew up listening to his tapes. This is the man that we probably all know, love, and respect. I had a coaching session with him, and he was able to talk to him about my goals and my dreams and the things I want to accomplish in life and how he can help me and how I can help him and his grandchildren invest in the stock market. Guys, can you believe that? Right? I have the ability to help Les Brown, his children, his grandchildren understand how the stock market works, understand how they can have generational wealth using the stock market. It's amazing. So money does grow on trees. And what we have to start doing is we have to start realizing that there are tools and applications out there that teach us information. That's why I created a company called Real Life Trading. It's a free stock market education company. There is no other company on planet Earth that gives everything away for free. I give it all away for free because I'm rich. Just like Kurt said, that's our definition, right? What is our definition of rich? I was rich in time and rich in love. So I created all this education that athletes can use, retired athletes can use, former athletes can use, upcoming athletes can use, current professionals, post-professionals, CPAs, or DNAs, right? We can all go in and we can learn just a little bit about how the market works. We can take time and carve out our schedule. And that way, my dear friends, we can help our individuals, we can help our tribes, we can help our teams, because that's my mission. As like Kurt said, you help one person, you can change the world. So we, as adults, have a responsibility to learn how the stock market works so that we can teach our kids and our kids' kids and their kids so that they can have generational wealth, so that people can understand how this beautiful, magnificent, ginormous market allows people to create financial freedom for their family, but also donate to charities and give hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to causes and causations and opportunities and nonprofits and charities. So there are two tools that you can all use. Rachel wanted me to make sure I bring these tools up. I'll post one of them in the chat pane because there was a question, what investing app can you use to start trading? Les Brown said today, in order to start, you got to start. If you want to start, you got to start. Start, right? Get in, foot forward, baby. Let's go. So there's 2 apps. One app is called Acorns. Acorns automatically rounds up every penny that you don't save on a purchase, rounds it up and then deposits it to the stock market for you. So if your purchase at Kroger costs $7.43, it'll round up, right, 47 cents and deposit that into your Acorns stock market account. It's free to use. Amazing. There's another one called Robinhood, right? Just like the fictional character, steal from the rich, give to the poor. Robinhood. It's a free app, coach. It doesn't cost a dime. You can open it right now and you can start buying stocks with $1. You can invest into Amazon with $1. They allow fractional shares. You can buy anything with any amount of money today, tomorrow, Thursday, next week, your birthday, my birthday, Jesus' birthday. We can invest into the market with pennies if we want to. And what it does is it creates paradigm shifts. If we can begin to do that now, if we want to start, we got to start. And there's another app I'll throw into the chat pane. Then I was explaining to this to my group here in Lake Tahoe. There's actually a company out there that for about $100 a month will allow you to trade a fake, yes, fake $50,000, $50,000 of fake money. If you use that money and you make $3,000 on 2 separate occasions with fake money, the $50,000 becomes real. And children, athletes, yeah, you heard me right. The money becomes real. $50,000 of US dollars becomes real that you can trade. And I know you sound, it sounds too good to be true. I'm not pitching it. It's not my company, right? It's a great company. I'm partnered with them. But here's the thing. Sure, it's an 80-20 split, right? If you make $5,000, they give you 80%. They get 20%. So they give you money, just like a bank gives you money to buy a house. They'll give you money to trade the stock market with. Money grows on trees, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the money that we don't have. It's the motivation. But after today, all of us have that because my boy Kurt Hines dropping knowledge bombs. I love it. So for everyone who is here, thank you so much for your generosity and for your love. We are here all the time, pouring into people. Thank you, Rachel, for creating this event and this movement. I love it.
I love everybody here. Love the energy. You guys are amazing. Really, really quickly. Are you still high on Ethereum? Because I've been seeing stuff about it lately. So if you're not, one other thing that Jeremy taught us, get on Coinbase and do every so often, a transfer into it. And he told us a couple of months ago to whatever that is, if it's $5, $10 every 2 weeks, 20, 50, whatever it is. And he told us to invest in Ethereum, correct, Jeremy?
Yep, you're absolutely right. Just keep doing that. Treat it like a savings account. A lot of people want to invest in cryptocurrencies. A lot of people want to know more information about it. So my opinion is just treat it like a savings account. I am very, very high on Ethereum. I am quite confident that over the next few years, it will do amazing things for both the world and your pocketbook. So go ahead and start investing, even if it's $5 a week, $5 a month. Got to start in order to start. You're not going to get over that finish line if you're not in the race. Be like Rachel. Invest.
Yes. Hey, one last thing for you guys, and I'm going to give myself 30 seconds. It's going to be hard. Get y'all out on time. I got an email from my fiance, a friend of his, and I use this at Minnesota. His name's Jay Klaus. And everybody knows the meaning of the word paranoia. Okay. The world is out to get me. It's conspiring against me. This guy said there's a new word that is making its way into the English language. Are you ready for this? And it's called pronoia. Pronoia. And it's the belief that the world is conspiring for you, that the world wants to see you, that people want to see you succeed. So next time you start saying stinking thinking, I'm paranoid. No, I'm pronoid. I'm pronoid. The world, it wants to see me succeed. Good things are going to happen for me. Stop that stinking thinking. So you're not paranoid, you're pronoid. How about that? Right?
Love that.
So good. Okay. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a wonderful month. Listen, if you'll do me a favor before everybody jumps off, next month, it's always the third Thursday of the month. Okay. Emma got us on that deal, third Thursday of the month. take a moment next month, because most of you have been on here every month. Take a moment and invite 2 people, invite 3 people, not just on social media. You know, when like a personal invite does, y'all, like a DM or whatever. Like, I really think if you got a teammate that's struggling, you got a coach that's struggling in the profession that is just burned out, you got a former athlete, whatever it may be, right? Just a friend that's a big sports fan, but a mentor to young people. Invite them here. Invite them to this community that we have created. But I'm going to challenge you in the most loving way to do it personally and invite 2 or 3 people next month, 3rd Thursday. We'll start putting stuff out. And Emma, very quickly, the 15% off coupon.
15% off is for everyone. It's going to be going up on our page for every person first purchase, but PALS people get a special $30 off their PALS collection purchase. And that coupon code is PALS, PALS 30. And I'll put that in the real quick.
And you can message any of us as well. That's for our store. That's in my Twitter bio. It's in my Instagram bio. It's in I'm Changing the Narrative bio. We have an awesome store that has swag, kings, queen, royal, mugs, hats, necklaces, and we have a whole PALS collection. And then you get to go out and say, people say, what is PALS? Oh, it's player alignment liaison. We're leaving no player behind. So it's pretty awesome.
And then also I wanted to share, I started Robinhood. This is for Jeremy. I started Robinhood 3 months ago, and I am up, I'm up $4.
You're my hero.
I only did $10, so I'm up 44%.
You're my hero. I love you so much. So proud of you. That's amazing. That's amazing. It creates cool vibes in your brain though, right?
And it's cool to see that go up.
So proud of you.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to put more money in it soon and be able to get it up.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
But yeah, use $30 off. That should get you 1 item or two at least a shirt or a few like items. But yeah, and then there's a 15% off any items on the store.
Thank you guys.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you guys. God bless.
Bye everybody. Thank you guys.